Accessing business credit cards means higher limits and a step towards growing that actual business that you've always dreamed of. So today I wanted to talk about how you can actually get your hands on the business cards without having to have an actual business structure right away. So if that's something that interests you, be sure you stay tuned. Now, first off, yes, it is possible, but you just need to be able to show that you have business activity. Okay. Now I want to give you guys a few examples of what I mean to be able to explain it a little bit better. Some things would include driving for Uber, pretty much gig economy workers, right? You're doing Uber Eats, you're doing Grubhub, whatever the case may be. You want to really look at it as things that you can do where you pretty much have your own schedule, right? Not where you need to clock in, you need to be there from 8 to 5 or whatever the case may be. Another example is selling items on Amazon. You could be a nanny for kids in your neighborhood. You could even be walking dogs. And one example of that is I actually have a guy in my neighborhood where I grew up. My parents' house is at. We actually had a neighbor who was down the street and he used to actually be a dog walker. So if you woke up early in the morning, you would see constant flow of cars coming and stopping at his house. And later on, we realized, seeing him in the afternoons that he was actually pretty much, it was kind of like a dog hotel, right? If you were someone who maybe you had a day job and you had a dog, but you didn't want to leave your dog at home, you would take your dog to him and he would pretty much babysit your dogs, right? Or dog sit. And so during the afternoons, we would see him walking like 10, 15 dogs down the street. And so he would be an example of business activity, even though he might not have a business. He might have just found these people from word of mouth and he was just doing it to make a little money on the side. But that would be an example of business activity. Some other examples are vacation rental owners, right? Think Airbnb, consultants. You pretty much get the idea, right? You basically have to be making some sort of side income, and that's really what they want to see. Now, my second point is with business credit cards. There's certain types of businesses that typically qualify, right? You want to be something kind of like a sole proprietorship. That's pretty much when you're just using your name essentially, right? You're running a business as yourself. Now, I recommend you check out my video on how to start an LLC for more separation and legal protections for your personal assets. Because whenever you're running as a sole proprietorship, if someone sues you because of something that happened in this business or side hustle, they are actually suing you personally, which means they can sue your personal assets. So if you have a house, you have a bank account with money in it, a personal bank account, they can now sue and potentially get access to those funds if they win, right? And so that's why I typically recommend maybe starting off, you can do a sole proprietorship. It's a lot cheaper and you're just using your own name, but eventually you create an LLC. So check out that video. I'm gonna link to it down below. That way, if you fit that case, or if you're interested in already creating the LLC, you can do that for really low amount of money. And I help you just figure out how to do all the other steps as well. Now, besides that, you're gonna have partnerships, you're gonna have corporations. They also want LLCs, of course, like I just mentioned, which stands for limited liability companies. Now, there is a caveat to this as well. These cards are typically gonna come with a personal guarantee. And what that pretty much means is if let's say your business is not able to pay the expenses that you've run on this credit card, they can come to you personally and say, hey, you have to pay it because you guaranteed that if your business couldn't pay, that you would pay it personally. Okay. And that's where that personal guarantee comes from. So with credit cards, that's typically going to be the flow. Unless you're a huge corporation and you have corporate cards or whatever the case may be, you're typically going to have to personally guarantee it. Now, one huge benefit is you will actually receive a lot higher of credit limits across all the cards than you would have gotten with the personal credit card. Okay. That's typically why you're going to hear people say that, they might have a $50,000 limit or $100,000 limit on a business credit card. That's a lot more achievable than it is for personal. Not saying you can't do it with a personal credit card, but with business credit cards, you're able to get to that level a lot faster and without as much as you're going to need to get it on the personal side. But how does that actually apply to business applications is probably what you're wondering next. Now, business applications are going to ask you if you have a business EIN, which stands for employer identification number, and what your business purpose is. Now, what you want to do is you want to state what your business purpose is. If you're a dog walker, you say I'm a dog walker, right? In the case of my neighbor. But when it comes to the EIN, you can use your personal social security number on that form. It's basically you being a sole proprietorship. So when you're a sole proprietorship, it means like I mentioned before, it means you're doing the business out of your own name. And so you're able to put your personal social on there instead of using the business equivalent of a social security number. So hopefully that's a quick explanation of how you can actually go about getting a business credit card without having to open an actual business structure. Now, if you're interested in actually opening a business structure, check out my 20-minute LLC video where I break down how to actually start an LLC in just 20 minutes. Other than that, guys, I appreciate y'all watching and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.